Hello students, this is G Chakraborty from the Department of Chemistry, and you are seeing the course Chemistry. The code of this course is CH101 for odd semester and CH201 for even semester, right? Now, as you can see, this is the 18th lecture of this particular course Chemistry of BTech first year, and we are seeing the stereochemistry part 2 here in this particular lecture, right? Now, if we commence with the lecture, we will come across some new topics. So before that, let us have some quick recap about the old topic that we people have seen in the last lecture, so that that will trigger our memory, and we'll be having a clear idea about the lecture that is going to happen today. Okay, so the last lecture, the main topic was representation of the 3D organic molecules, right, or the representation of the organic molecules in 3D. And in this particular in that particular lecture, we people have seen that there are basically 4 different techniques using which we people are having this particular thing, that is your 3D representation. Okay, and these 4 projections are namely Fischer projection, Newman projection, Schauer's projection, and flying wedge projection. Okay, now in Fischer projection, we people have seen that it is just a combination of horizontal and vertical lines using which the different atoms and different molecules in a particular molecule and their bonds are represented, right? And it finds wide application in the field of biochemistry, that also we people have discussed in the previous lecture. Okay, now the second comes the Newman projection, and we have seen that Newman, and the third one is Schauer's, right? Now Newman and Schauer's projection are almost similar, just the viewpoint is different. In the Newman is the condensed form, Schauer's is the elaborated form. In the Newman, your viewpoint is the molecule is seen just from the point of our nose, and in the Schauer's projection, the molecule is seen from the lower side, right? So we are seeing from the lower side, the molecule is up, in that way we are seeing. So in Newman, what happens, only the front carbon or proximal is visible, but in the Schauer's projection, both proximal and the back carbon, that is the distal carbon, both are visible, right? And in the flying wedge projection, we people have seen that it is very, very important for the chemical reactions part of view, and there we will see that different type of reactions, how they occur, where the attack basically occurs, what is above the plane, what is below the plane, what is on the plane. These different type of bonds have been seen in the flying wedge projection, right? So this was our prerequisite knowledge. Now here in this particular aspect, we will see that what the topic of today is, right? So today's topic is chirality. Okay, one more topic is there, that is optical activity. It will come late in the lecture. At this moment, we'll start from the word chirality, right? So what chirality is, it is very, very important. In the last lecture, I have given you a glimpse about the fact that what chirality is, right? I think you people remember that chiral center means a center in which different type of atoms are attached to a carbon molecule. And if you want a definition other than this, then a molecule will be said chiral if it cannot be superimposed on its mirror image, right? So if 4 different type of groups are present in a particular carbon, and then if you take the mirror image of that particular thing, you can never get the exact same mirror image. You will get the inverted or the reversed mirror image, right? So this particular structure can never be superimposed on its mirror image. So that is what the meaning of chiral center is. An example is given here, that is, for example, a tetrahedral carbon bonded to 4 different groups is basically a chiral center, right? So a tetrahedral carbon which will be bonded to 4 different groups will be termed as chiral. Now if you see on the screen, you will see that there are 2 hands, right? Basically just take your left hand, okay, and your right hand as well, just put them together, right? Just touch these 2 hands and just try to understand that if a mirror is taken, right, in between these hands, then does these 2 hands superimpose on each other? Just take your left hand, take your right hand, put your right hand on your left hand, you will see that in the left hand the thumb is at the left, whereas at the right hand the thumb is at the right. That means thumb on thumb, this situation is not happening. So it is not superimposing basically. Same thing happens to our legs also, right? Our legs are also not superimposable on each other. So if they are not superimposable on each other, then they are called chiral. But you cannot say our hands and legs are chiral because it cannot be considered from the carbon point of view, right? So basically the hands that are present here on the screen, you will see that one carbon molecule is also shown there. You see the atom is, the central atom is carbon, okay? In the left hand side, the left side atom is hydrogen and the right side atom is R, that is the alkyl group, and at the top we are having acid COH, and the bottom we are having amine group, right, NH2. Now if you see from the right, you are seeing just the mirror image of this particular thing, okay? Now what the mirror image is? The mirrored image is nothing but this particular your hand structure, where the hydrogen is at the right and this particular methyl group or alkyl group, it is at the left, and our acid is at the top and NH2 is at the bottom. So if we try to superimpose these particular things, will it superimpose? Yes or no? The answer will be no, it will not superimpose. Okay. Now moving little bit on, in the next structure also we people can see that there are two dots, one is red, another is blue, right? It is written that these two are the chiral centers. Now what this chiral center basically is, here also we people will be seeing that what is chiral center. Now if you consider the red dot, okay, if you consider the red dot, means the carbon which is marked red shown from above, right? If we consider this particular red carbon, then we will be seeing that in one hand it is having a CHO group, that is the left hand side. At the lower part it is having OH group, that is the second bond, and at the right hand side it is having a big group containing OH, CH2, CH2, OH, right? And the fourth group, which is not shown here basically because this skeletal structure, it is the hydrogen, okay? So just count the 4 different bonds on the carbon. One is CHO, another is OH, third one is that big group, okay, OH, CH2, CH2, OH, and the fourth one is hydrogen. So 4 different groups are there, so that particular carbon is called chiral, as simple as that. Now let us consider the next carbon, that is the blue carbon next to it, just next to the red carbon. If you see the screen, you will see that at the top side it is having OH, and at the right hand side it is having CH2OH. At the left it has OH, CH2, CHO, okay, that particular group it is having, and the fourth group is hydrogen, okay. So here also 4 different groups are there. Now if 4 different groups are there, then this particular carbon will also called chiral, right? So this is what the chiral center word means, and this is how we are going to see that whether a carbon, given carbon, is chiral or not. We can easily predict if we see this particular type of structures. But what is now missing here, and we need to do whenever we are writing something, or we are just finding out whether a carbon is chiral or not, it is very important for us. See here, I know that's why I have said, okay, the fourth bond is hydrogen and this particular structure is chiral. But it may happen that in hurry you may forget that the fourth bond is carbon, okay, it happens to many persons, that's why I'm saying. So you just, whenever this type of structure is given and you are asked whether it is chiral or not, just try to mark the structures, then only you will come with a clear idea that this particular thing is chiral or not. You need to mark all the 4 things that are present here, okay. Now some more molecules have come up, right? Now here you can see one is chiral, another is achiral, right? Now can you tell me which one is chiral, which one is achiral? Yes or no? Tell me. Here we can see the top molecules, it is written that these 2 molecules are not identical. Which 2 molecules? The molecule and its mirror image. Now if you check it out, you will see the carbon contains 1 Cl, 1 Br, 1 I and 1 F. So 4 different groups, definitely that molecule is chiral, and so the images are not identical. But here If you see the next one, these two molecules are identical. Why they are identical? Because there is prochiral. Here one is F, another is Cl, but the other two are F. That is, the center is not chiral, rather it is prochiral. Okay, that is something which is not chiral. Okay, right. So this way we are going to check out whether the molecules are chiral or not. Right. Now moving on, our next topic for this particular lecture will be optical activity. Okay. Now what is the meaning of this word optical activity? When for the first time you have seen the word optics? Tell me. From the first time, you may say that yes, it was present as a chapter of class 12, that is optics, and huge marks was carried in that particular chapter. Okay. Yes, you have come across the chapter optics in your class 12 physics book, but that is not the first time that you have seen this optics part. Optics word you have seen somewhere, some other place. You have seen in some other place. If you are wearing a specs like me, then your specs are optical, right? The shops which basically sell specs, right? They are called opticals, optics, right? So that is the when I was a child, right? Maybe 5 or 6 years old. From that time I am wearing specs. Okay, so that is the first time that when I have seen the word optics. Okay, I used to borrow my glasses from I used to buy my glasses rather from Modern Optics, right? A shop in Kacharapada. Okay, so that is the first time I have seen the word optics. And later on in chemistry, yes, in physics in class 12 I also have studied optics, and here in chemistry we will be seeing the term called optical activity. Okay, now what is the meaning of this particular word optical activity is? See, optical activity is basically a phenomena of chiral molecules. Okay, right? Optical activity describes the phenomena by which the chiral molecules are observed to rotate the plane polarized light in clockwise and anti-clockwise direction. Now here 2-3 question arises. One is, what is a chiral molecule? That we people have already discussed, right? Another is, what is plane polarized light? Okay, see, the light which will come with a plane, right, along a particular plane and will polarize something, it is called plane polarized light. Okay, now what will happen? Certain molecules, basically which are chiral molecules, they have a particular property that they can rotate this plane polarized light whenever the light passes through them. Okay, now this rotation can be either in the plus direction, that is clockwise direction, or in the minus direction, that is the anti-clockwise direction, right? This can be in two ways. Okay, so these particular molecules, the chiral molecules, will interact with the plane polarized light and will result in the rotation of that particular light. Okay, so as we know that this phenomena is called optical activity, and this optical activity will be observed by using a polarimeter. Now what is polarimeter, how it works, that we people will discuss later in this particular lecture. But before that, let us try to imagine that if optical activity exists and if a chiral molecule rotates the light in clockwise and counterclockwise direction, then what different type of names we people will assign to those particular molecules. If a molecule is rotating a light to clockwise direction, then that particular molecule will be called dextrorotatory, and if a molecule is rotating the light to anti-clockwise direction, we will see it is levorotatory. Okay, D and L isomers, right? So I think you people remember the names D and L isomers. So it occurs from here only, that is optical activity. Okay, now you can gradually see an image of polarimeter, right, in the screen. Now what a polarimeter is? Say, polarimeter is that particular meter which will produce the plane polarized light and which will predict whether a molecule is optically active or not. Okay, now what we are going to do in this polarimeter, basically, see, first of all we will take the sample, right? A liquid sample is preferable in of the compound that we are trying to testing. Okay, so the compound which is to be tested, a solution of that particular compound will be taken in a particular sample holder, right? A sample tube, you can see it is written. Okay, Now this particular sample tube has two glass openings or ends, right? Now this particular sample will be taken in the tube and it will be fixed inside the polarimeter, and at the one end of the sample we will see a light source, and at the other end of the sample we have to keep our eye, okay, as you can see in the screen, right? Now one end will be, there will be the sample, and the other way there will be eye, okay. Now you will see that the direction of the light, actually the direction of the plane polarized light, if your sample is optically active, that is if it contains chiral compound, then the plane polarized light will be rotated, okay. Now in what direction that rotation will be, that we cannot predict from here, that can be shown only by the polarimeter, okay. We cannot predict this particular thing sitting here, right? But the thing is, the polarimeter will tell us that whether the sample is clockwise or anti-clockwise, okay. Now how much it is rotating, if you see the figure, if you see the diagram, you will see just beside the eye there is analyzer, okay. Now this analyzer is fitted with a measurement of degree, right? How much the light is rotated, how much the plane polarized light is rotated, that can be measured by this analyzer. It will be analyzed by this analyzer, and there will be getting the particular idea that how much this light will be rotated, or how much is this light is rotated by the sample under consideration, okay. Now the summarization of this particular optical activity is given here. That is, when a plane polarized light will pass through a solution containing a single chiral compound, right? Cannot be mixture of compounds, okay. It will be a single pure compound, it will be chiral in nature, okay. Then the chiral compound causes the plane to vibrate, plane of vibration to rotate, okay. So the molecule will make the plane to rotate, right? And this can be traced by using a meter which is called polarimeter. Now this particular polarimeter contains these few components, which is, first of all is the sodium vapor lamp, followed by the monochromatic filter, and then we people are having a polarizing filter, right? And then there will be the sample tube or the sample cell made of glass. After that we'll be having the analyzing filter, right, or the analyzer, and then detector, right? Now detector is eye, because we'll be detecting by our own eyes, okay. So first of all we will fill the sample in the sample tube, and then we will put on the sodium vapor lamp, and it will just pass the monochromatic beam of light, which will pass through the monochromatic filter and the polarizing filter, and it will fall on the particular sample, and then the rotation will be measured by the analyzer, and we will act as detector. We will detect the rotation that is happening, right? So this is what the phenomena of optical activity and the working principle of a polarizer is, and this is what we are having for this particular lecture, that is lecture number 18 and part 2 of the stereochemistry part, right? And in the next lecture we'll be seeing some more things. Basically it is isomerism, right? Now isomerism term is very common to us, and you people are studying this isomerism thing from class 11, and here we will just first of all we will have a clear idea that what things we have studied till now, and then we will move to the new things that we are having in the syllabus of this particular lecture 3 of not lecture 3, part 3 of stereochemistry, that is lecture number 19, okay. So let us move to that particular lecture, and in the next lecture we'll be seeing multiple things. So till then you just go through this particular lecture, you try to understand what things are present in this lecture, what is chirality. Now the question often comes that some molecules will be given and you will be asked to see whether the molecules are chiral or not, right? So you need to see it out, you need to check out that how the chiral molecules are to be identified, and in this lecture if you go through it again, you will see that we have clearly explained that how these molecules are to be identified, right? And if optical activity, see, as far as optical activity questions are concerned, by seeing a particular sample we cannot say whether it is D or L. It is impossible to say. Only polarimeter can predict whether the sample is D or L. But if a molecule is chiral, that is non-superimposable on its mirror image, then definitely that molecule will be optically active, okay. So go through this thing, just study it out, have a little bit practice, and if you face any difficulty you just ring me up, or you just drop a mail or message, and we'll discuss and we'll come to some solution of that particular question, right? Okay, so till then, stay safe and stay healthy and study well. Thank you.